What film did you recently watch? What is it all about? Did you enjoy the film? When we talk about the film that you have watched, there is always a storyline creatively written by its writer. This storyline is made up of different elements that coherently keep the story together. Let us review some of these elements. The first is characters. In every story, there are different types of characters. They may be human beings in conflict with each other, such as the protagonist and the antagonist. In some stories, you also see supernatural beings, animals, or even inanimate objects as characters. Related to this element is the term characterization. This is the process by which a writer reveals the personality of a character. This is achieved by the writer directly telling the viewers what a character is like. For example, the dialogue "Michelle has always been a smug, wicked princess" is an explicit characterization. When we say explicit, it is obvious in the text. In the sentence, how is the character of Michelle being portrayed? Obviously, the sentence says that Michelle is a smug, someone who shows excessive pride. Not only that, she is also a wicked princess. On the other hand, an indirect characterization relies on the reader to discover what the character is like. It is up to you to find out what the character is like. It doesn't use verbal descriptions of a character, rather it relies on the behavior, speech, and appearance of the character. Secondly, the setting is also an important story element. Now, there may be more than one setting in a movie, and that is normal as the plot of the story develops. Setting can be a combination of a place of occurrence, the time in which the event takes place, a historical period, and even the weather described in the story. Some are specific, like the Mount Olympus, where gods and goddesses from Greek mythology are seen, while others are descriptive settings, such as the ship on its first expedition in the ocean. Last but not the least is the plot of the film. Without the plot, there is really no story to be told. The plot is the story sequence where the characters systematically place their roles. It is also where the setting acts as a supporting element in the development of a story. A plot has a beginning, middle, and end. With all the necessary descriptions called exposition, the viewer can make sense of the action and follow the storyline. Another important element of the plot is the conflict. This refers to the struggle between opposing forces in a story. Here is a double puzzle. For the first puzzle, unscramble the letters to form words enumerating the various film genres. You can pause the video so that you will have enough time to answer the puzzle. Time starts now. Time's up. What are the answers? Now use the letters from the first activity in the number cells to the cells in this puzzle to complete a code from Stephen King. I'll do the first three letters. Number 1 is letter D, number 2 is letter E, and number 3 is letter S. Now it's your turn to do the rest. Again, you can pause the video to give you more time in answering the puzzle. Your time starts now. Your time is up. What does the quote say? According to Stephen King, description begins in the writer's imagination but should finish in the reader's. Do you believe in this quote? So how does a writer bring about those creative imaginations? Writers consider a film genre. By definition, a film genre is a term categorizing a film based on some stylistic criteria. From there, subgenres are developed. A film category indirectly assists in shaping the characters and the story of the movie. The shaping determines the plot and the setting used. Here are the basic film genres. Number 1, comedy. It is generally meant to make people laugh. Its subgenres include slapstick comedy. This involves exaggerated physical activity that exceeds the boundaries of normal physical comedy. On the other hand, romantic comedy is a movie or a play that deals with love in a light or humorous way. Number 2 is horror. It aims to bring to viewers' minds nightmares, fears, and terrors of the unknown. Its subgenres include zombie horror and folk horror, which uses elements of folklore. For example, is the movie Tik Tik, which revolves around Tik Tik, a Filipino folklore and evil mythical creature. Next is action. This has tremendous impact, continuous high energy, lots of physical stunts and activity. Some of its subgenres are war and military action. Number 2 is spy and espionage action. Espionage is spying or using spies, typically by governments, to obtain political and military information. And number 3 is martial arts action. Next one is the science fiction, or what we call sci-fi. It uses visionary, fictional, science-based depictions through fanciful imaginative settings. Some of its subgenres are space travel, number 2 robot and monster films, and number 3 alien invasion. Next one is romance, wherein the plot revolves around the love of its main characters, such as courtship, forbidden love, or love triangles. Its subgenres include historical romance, romantic comedy, and chick flick. Chick flick targets women as audience. Next one, we have thriller. It induces strong feelings of excitement, tension, suspense, and other similar emotions. Some of its subgenres are conspiracy thriller, which story revolves around a secret plan of a group to do something unlawful or harmful. And then crime thriller. And then number 3 is spy thriller. Next is drama. This is a serious presentation or stories with settings or real-life situations that portray realistic characters in conflict with either themselves, others, or forces of nature. Its subgenres include political drama, romantic drama, and melodrama. Next one is fantasy. Fantasy is a film genre that most likely overlaps with science fiction and other genres, but it bases its content on some degrees of scientific truth, fairy tale experiences, and mythical beings. Take note that film genres can sometimes be difficult to identify because genres tend to overlap. Take the case of superhero-themed films, where it can be categorized as action-type genre, but also as sci-fi when the story involves science in the story plot. What is the general purpose of the author? Stephen King, a well-known American author, says, "Description begins in the writer's imagination, but should finish in the reader's." King explained that a writer is responsible in translating what he sees in his mind into words on pages. If he does this effectively, then the reader can experience what the writer has written in his story. In other words, his purpose of writing is revealed to the reader through his narration and description of the different story elements combined together. Most of the time, something that we view for information purposes can be easily identified, simply because the writer's purpose is directly and explicitly known from its genre or its theme. For example, documentary films often feature biographies of well-known personalities like civil rights leaders, president of the nation, or even an ordinary individual who made an extraordinary contribution to the welfare of society. Now, in relation to film, what could be a screenplay's purpose in scripting a story for a film? Generally, a film has the purpose of entertaining and informing. It goes hand in hand with why an audience want to watch a film, to be entertained and to be informed. On the other hand, to entertain does not necessarily mean to create a pleasant feeling, such as when watching those feel-good type of movies like comedies or those happily ever after films. Screenwriters or television writers, if referring to a writer for a television show, usually specializes in a genre. For instance, if the writer wants the audience to be frightened in one scene of the film, then the writer will develop a creepy characterization. This includes a character's appearance, behavior, and the manner of speaking. Also, a frightening physical setting coupled with dark-themed backgrounds, and of course, a chilling, spooky plot. When these story elements are in consonance with the film genre, then you realize that the writer's purpose is to generally entertain its audience through a horror film. The writer has been able to successfully achieve his purpose for entertaining the audience by seamlessly unifying the characterization of characters, the setting, and the storyline through the plot. A look at a movie scene. On a deeper perspective, however, a writer might want to bring out a certain emotion from the viewers. For example, a scene in the movie Dead Poets Society. Keating, the teacher, was fired from his job because one of his students died and he was blamed. Todd, a student, believes that his teacher was not at fault, so he stood to his desk as other students follow suit. Then Todd recited, "Oh Captain, my Captain," as a clever way to address his teacher. In this scene, Todd is mourning the loss of his hero, his teacher. Like other films, the setting plays an important role in communicating the writer's purpose. This is because it serves to anchor the story plots and characterization of actors. In other words, it gives context to the film. This particular scene in Dead Poets Society utilizes the classroom that symbolizes a place of knowledge to portray teacher-student relationship and how the learnings they have gained from their teacher made an impact to their sense of justice and free speech. So what do you think is the writer's purpose in this iconic movie? Well, there may be more than one. Probably the writer wants the audience to realize the greatness of a teacher who inspires his student and makes a difference in their lives. Also, the writer would like to tell the audience that it is okay to stand up for what you believe is right, just like what Todd and his classmates did as they stood on top of the desk in their classroom. These two purposes can be claimed as subtext of the film. Subtext. A subtext is an underlying message, theme, or metaphor being conveyed through the dialogues, images, background music, or even the whole film itself. These are not directly stated but rather realized by the audience as they appraise the characterization, the setting, and the story plot. Going beyond the entertainment value. Here is a plot summary of a novel adapted to film entitled The Perks of Being a Wallflower. The story was written by Stephen Chbosky, who also screenwrote and directed its film adaptation. Appraising the story elements reviewed on the plot summary, let us discover the purposes of the writer. The title alone tells you a characterization, being a wallflower, portrayed by one of the main characters. A wallflower is someone who tends to be shy, quietly sitting at the corner of a room or standing against the wall. The main character, Charlie, is a wallflower. He is shy and introverted, but as the story progressed, he learned to come out of his shell and face his inner demons, which he was befriended by the supporting character. Charlie, being a wallflower, is complemented in the settings of the story, in the classroom, at their home, and at the social gathering. These settings heighten the visual and emotional impacts of the movie scenes. And as the story plot unfolds, you see a dynamic change of Charlie as his character develops. Note that the plot as a series of events that form the story is the framework that binds the other story elements. Through the plot, characterization of the characters progress with the story setting providing the needed support to bring out what the writer wants to convey. While the film is viewed because of its entertainment value, the author also intends to make the audience ponder on substantial realizations. One could be to let the viewers look at the perspective of someone who experiences struggles. That, like Charlie, he has eternal conflicts characterizing him as a wallflower. That there may be reasons why a person becomes introverted, such as having a troublesome past. Another reason why the author probably wrote his story is to show that being in high school can be difficult for people like Charlie. However, with the support of friends and teachers, then high school life can be bearable. For you to understand the purpose of the writer, you need to evaluate the characterizations of the characters, such as the emotions they portray and the delivery of their dialogues. Through characterization, the writer lets you discover the personality of the characters and why it matters in the plot of the story. You also consider the settings, including the physical setup, time of the event, and the musical background played, as this cements the mood and tone of scenes. Lastly, the plot provides you with the storyline that gives you the overall picture of the story. For your activity, listen or watch a video on YouTube which is entitled Kwentong Jollibee Parangal Tribute. This digital advertisement is a play-up of a graduation ceremony in a school auditorium where the stage sports a sign that says 21st Commencement Exercises. A teenage boy dresses in his graduation toga is focused on the screen as he walks towards the lectern uploaded by his teachers and the audience. He then delivers his graduation speech. Let us read the transcript of his speech written in the vernacular. Tagal kong hinintay ang araw na ito, hindi para tumanggap ng mga medalyang ito. Gusto kong ibigay ang karangalan sa taong nagdala sa akin dito. Ma, narito ako ngayon dahil sa walang katulad mong pagmamahal. Yung pagmamahal na kayang tiisin ang pagod, mapagtapos lang ako. Yung pagmamahal na kayang tiisin ang sariling gutom, maibigay lang ang gusto ko. Yung pagmamahal na kayang itago ang lungkot para maging masaya lang kami. Yung kayang sabihin okay lang ang lahat, wag lang bumigat ang loob ko. Alam kong hindi naging madali para sa iyo. Ma, mula nang mawala si Papa, ikaw na ang tumayong mama at papa ko. Ginaya mo ang lahat-lahat dahil nangako ka sa akin ng gabing iyon. Joey, anak, kakayanin ko ang lahat para sa iyo. Kaya ma, alam kong sasabihin mo sa akin proud ka, pero mas gusto kong sabihin sa lahat na mas proud ako sa mama ko. How did the setting contribute to the overall impact of the storyline? Imagine yourself on the shoes of the actor who delivered his graduation speech. How will you deliver it? Will your words be spoken with a grateful heart? Describe it. What does the graduation speech reflect with regards to Filipino values? Now let's check what you have learned. Complete the thoughts and ideas of the paragraph by filling in the blanks with appropriate words. Your time starts now. Time's up, but you can pause the video so that you will have more time or enough time to answer the quiz. Let's answer. A writer is a general term for someone who composes. In films, a writer is known as a screenplay writer. There are two main purposes for a writer in writing a story: to inform and to entertain, or you can interchange this one. Sometimes a writer's intention is to evoke a certain emotion as the audience watches a certain scene. Three story elements are appraised by the viewers if the writer has achieved his purpose in a film, namely the characters, the settings, and the plot. Story characters, through the writer's characterization, lead the way to the realization of the writer's purpose, as they are usually the central element of the story. This is supported by the story's setting, where the mood and tone are established, evoking an increased response or reaction from the audience. Lastly, the plot paves the way for the storyline of the film. Congratulations, you are now done with your Module 3.